You think you could handle it? A week in the wild. No phone, no grocery store, no running water, just you and the land. You've seen the survival shows. You've read the articles. Maybe you've even gone camping a few times and come back feeling capable. A little proud of yourself. But here's what those shows don't tell you. The average hunter-gatherer alive 50,000 years ago wasn't surviving. They were thriving. They were doing, in a single afternoon, what would leave most modern humans collapsed on the ground by nightfall. And the gap between you and them isn't a matter of toughness. It's a matter of an entire lifetime of knowledge, physical conditioning, and social intelligence that you simply do not have. Not yet, possibly not ever. So let's be honest about what that first week would actually look like. Day 1 starts before sunrise. Not because you set an alarm. Because that's when the animals move. Your body, softened by mattresses and climate control, has been sleeping in a 68-degree room for your entire life. Out here, the temperature dropped to 45 overnight. You didn't sleep well. You didn't sleep deeply. Every sound pulled you half awake, a branch snap, a rustling in the undergrowth. Your nervous system, tuned by evolution for exactly this kind of threat detection, did its job perfectly. Unfortunately, that job left you exhausted. You're already behind. Now you need water, clean water, not bottled, not filtered through a ceramic pump you ordered online. Water from whatever source is nearby. And here's your first real problem. You don't know which water is safe. You don't know how to read a landscape for a spring. You don't know the difference between a stagnant pool and a moving stream by smell alone. The way your ancestors did. You don't know that the green mossy patch 30 meters to your left marks a reliable seep in the rock. A Hadza forager from Tanzania, one of the last true hunter-gatherer peoples studied extensively by anthropologist James Sussman, would know all of this before breakfast. You are guessing. Let's say you find water. Questionable water. You drink it anyway because you have no choice. Now you need food. And this is where things fall apart fast. You look around at the landscape and you see trees, grass, maybe some berry-looking things on a low shrub. You have no idea whether those berries are edible. You have no idea whether the roots under your feet are nutritious or toxic. Foraging knowledge, real foraging knowledge, takes years to acquire. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, who spent decades studying the Hunski Sand people of the Kalahari, documented that children begin learning plant identification as toddlers and don't reach full foraging competence until their late teens. You are not a toddler starting the process. You are an adult who has skipped it entirely. You make a guess. Maybe you find something. Maybe it makes you sick. By midday you're hungry. Not snack hungry. Not, I skipped lunch, hungry. The kind of deep, destabilizing hunger that pulls your attention away from everything else. Your blood sugar is dropping. Your muscles are burning through their glycogen reserves. Your thinking is getting foggy. This is the metabolic reality that your ancestors navigated constantly, except they had a toolkit for it. They knew exactly which high-calorie underground tubers could be dug up with a digging stick. Anthropologist Richard Lee's landmark 1960s study of the Hunski found that foragers spent roughly 15 to 20 hours per week actually gathering food, and came home with enough calories to sustain the whole group. Not because the work was easy, but because they knew precisely what to look for and where. You don't know, and not knowing costs you time you don't have. Now imagine you need to actually hunt something. You have no spear, no bow, no atlatl, the spear-throwing device that extended a hunter's range by 50 meters and multiplied the force of a throw by up to 400%. A technology refined at sites like Stellmoor in northern Germany dating back 11,000 years. Even if someone handed you a spear right now, you wouldn't know how to throw it. You wouldn't know how to track. You wouldn't know how to read compressed grass to see which direction an animal moved. Or which broken twig indicates a deer passed through 2 hours ago rather than 2 days ago. You wouldn't know how to approach downwind. You wouldn't know how to wait. Real hunters can hold absolutely still for hours. Their heart rate drops. Their breathing slows. Their attention narrows to a single point in the treeline. That is a trained skill. A physical and psychological discipline built over a lifetime. You'd scare away everything within 200 meters just walking toward it. By day 3, the physical demands are compounding. Your feet are destroyed. Modern humans wear cushioned shoes that do the structural support work our feet used to do themselves. Barefoot or in minimal footwear. On rough terrain, covering the 10 to 15 kilometers per day that foragers typically covered, and that figure comes from GPS tracking studies of modern Hadza foragers conducted by researcher David Rachlin at the University of Arizona. Your feet would be blistered. Your ankles unstable. Your knees absorbing impact forces your joints were never conditioned for. You'd be limping by day 2. Limping in the wild is dangerous. It slows you down. It makes you predictable. It makes you vulnerable. Your hands are soft. Gathering and processing food, cracking nuts, digging roots, scraping hides, splitting wood, requires grip strength and hand durability that you don't have. Your palms would be torn open within a day. Raw, bleeding hands make everything harder. And you're alone. This is the thing that almost never gets said plainly. No human being in the Paleolithic survived alone. Not for long, not by design. Hunter-gatherer bands were tightly cooperative units of 20 to 50 individuals. Each person contributing a specific competency. One person knew the water sources. One tracked game. One processed plants. One knew where to go when winter came early. The group's collective knowledge was the technology. It was the survival system. Being alone, truly alone, stripped of that web of competency and mutual support, was one of the most dangerous conditions a prehistoric human could find themselves in. Exile wasn't a metaphor, it was a death sentence. You're not just struggling to find food, you're missing the entire social architecture that made finding food possible. By day 5, if you haven't already turned back, you're in a different kind of danger. You're sleep deprived, you're calorically depleted, your immune system, the same immune system that fights off colds in a heated apartment with a refrigerator full of food, is running on fumes. A small cut, infected, a sprained ankle, untreated, a stomach bug from that questionable water on day 1. These are not inconveniences, these are the exact mechanisms that killed people. Archaeologist John Robb of Cambridge University has studied skeletal trauma in prehistoric remains and found evidence of healed injuries everywhere. Evidence that people survived serious wounds. But they survived because others cared for them. They had a band. They had people who knew which plant crushed into a poultice reduced infection. You have neither. Here is the uncomfortable truth that sits at the center of all of this. Hunter-gatherers were not primitive. They were not accidentally surviving, stumbling through the Pleistocene and getting lucky. They were specialists, highly trained, deeply knowledgeable, socially embedded specialists who had spent their entire lives acquiring an enormous and irreplaceable body of practical intelligence. Archaeologist and anthropologist Tim Ingold has argued for decades that the knowledge embedded in a hunter-gatherer community, ecological, technical, social, represents a cognitive achievement that modern industrial education does not and cannot replicate. They knew things, specific, hard-won, survival-critical things. And you don't. The weak would break you. Not because you're weak by modern standards. You're probably fine by modern standards. It would break you because modern standards are not the standards the world was built on. But here's what's strange about all of this. You still have the hardware. Your body can still do it. Your senses, sharpened under different conditions, would sharpen again. Your feet would toughen. Your grip would strengthen. Your pattern recognition, the same faculty that lets you read faces and navigate traffic and anticipate what someone is about to say, would. Given time, begin reading the landscape instead. The architecture is still there. Evolution doesn't throw things away that quickly. You are, beneath the layers of civilization, the same animal that crossed the Bering Land Bridge, that painted the walls of Chauvet Cave in France 36,000 years ago. That survived volcanic winters and ice ages and 10,000-year stretches of radical climate instability. You have the body of a survivor. You just forgot what you were surviving for. You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. You've always had that instinct. You've just spent your whole life ignoring it. Your ancestors didn't have that option. And in a week without it, you'd finally understand why they never did.